Hello, everybody. My name is Trish McCabe. Welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. Today, I have a very special guest, my niece, and her name is Siobhan Stevens. Hi, Siobhan. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We had some technical issues, and now we're on track. So let's just dig in. Today, our topic is basically, I'm just going to give it a title. Um, the journey from addiction to recovery and your personal story. So when we talked about this before, I felt like we should go back to the very beginning and maybe sort of chronologically go through your story bit by bit. I know that Zoom only gives us like 35 minutes, maybe most.
Okay.
So I'm thinking we'll start off with when you were a baby and your first recollections with your oral fixation that you look back and remember having even when you were a baby.
Um, you're talking about like calling my Smartie my pills. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I for some reason when I was younger, was 3 years old and I remember calling my Smarties my pills. And I don't know where I got it from, but I got it from somewhere. And uh, and then when I was about 6 years old and I had an ear infection and I was very fixated on calling or taking Tylenol. And I, you know, was very like, I have to take my pills. I have to take my pills. And my older sister would tell me, like, you better be careful. You're going to be addicted. And little did I know, she was so right.
Interesting that she knew that. Um, we see it. This is my take on it. I know that your mother, my sister at the time, was taking antidepressants, so maybe you witnessed that, and it
Yeah.
was something that she had to do every day. You witnessed that, and children, they mimic. They see what they mimic their environment. And also we see ads on TV that recommend you take various pills for various issues like headaches and body aches and whatnot. And children are very absorbent to their surroundings. So there's that. I feel like maybe it came from that. Um, but those were your first recollections of this need for medication.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so at that point, you were taking, did you say Tylenol? Was it
Yeah.
Tylenol?
There's just
Tylenol.
Tylenol. Yeah.
And and so maybe the message of take this and this will make you feel better. And I might sound, I'm certainly not a doctor, people, but this is just me looking with discernment. If you're a child and you're told this is going to make you feel better, there also could be a bit of placebo in
Right.
that,
Oh, I
where
can
you're
see that.
told that and you believe it and thus it happens. They're still doing a lot of scientific research on the topic of placebo, the power of suggestion to the mind. But that's another thing. Just something I thought I'd put in there for folks to think about. So after that, you came down with well, you didn't come down. It was discovered that you had an issue with your sternum. Do I have that
Right.
correct? And you were, how old were you when that occurred?
I was, uh, well, no, I was born with it.
You were born with it, but
Right.
it started to become an
Well,
issue.
it was my pediatrician when I was in the sixth grade. Well, she'd been my pediatrician for years, but when I was in the sixth grade, she noticed that it was getting really deep, and so she sent me to see a specialist in Sacramento and at UC Davis. And within 5 days of seeing that specialist, I had to have reconstructive surgery done on my chest because they were scared that if my breastplate got any lower or went any deeper, that it was going to start pushing on my heart and my lungs. And if I got into a car accident or if I was playing sports or anything like that, they didn't want it to, you know, if I got hit hard enough, they were scared that it would, it would kill me. So they, they took the chance and did the surgery, and, you know, they started me on Vicodin and morphine when I was 11.
And so you were 11 years old. And I think you said that surgery was quite long, and then you had to have more
27 hours.
surgery, 27 hours. And
Yeah.
I would imagine you woke up in extreme pain.
Oh, I woke up freaking out because, with an oxygen mask on, and it took a second for the pain to hit me, but when I woke up, I was all by myself, and I looked around and couldn't figure out where I was at first, and I tried to shove the mask off my face, and the nurse came back in and put it back on, and I fell back to sleep. And then when I woke up again, my family was standing around me, and like I tried to get set up, I couldn't, and that's when the pain really set in. Like,
And so they put you on morphine.
they actually overdosed me with morphine and had to Narcan me in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I guess that could be something. Well, I wonder if that had something to do with your age in terms of dosage.
probably.
Yeah. Not that I'm a doctor. Once again, this is all just discernment, discussing all the variables, folks. Um, so from there, I think you said you had to have several surgeries following that
Um,
surgery.
I only had to have one more surgery done on my chest, but a year later they took they put a metal bar in my chest to raise my breastplate up, and then a year later they took it out. But then it was just like, it was one thing. I had to have my tonsils taken out a year, when I was 13. So when I was 11, 12, 13, I had the two chest surgeries and my tonsils out. And then when I was 15, I had to have a laparoscopy done, where they, cut open your belly button, put a little incision in your belly button, and then a little incision at your panty line to fucking put a little bar or a little rod in so they can move your organs around, and they stick a camera through my belly button to look at my ovaries. And then when I was 16 and a half, I got MRSA, and I had an abscess on my stomach from it that they had to cut open and drain. And then when I was 18, I had to have a reconstructive shoulder surgery because when I was little, I used to be able to bring my arm, bring my hands from the front to the back without letting go of them, and then I could pop them back over. And from doing that so many times when I was little, it stretched everything out in my shoulders, so they had to go back into the capsule and tighten everything up. So I was just constantly on painkillers, and then when I wasn't on painkillers, I was on codeine with cough syrup.
Wow. And this is all before your brain was even fully developed.
Yeah.
And so that leads your neuro pathways to be kind of
Oh yeah.
in a certain stuck in a pattern, like, well, basically just stuck. So how do you unstick it?
Well,
It takes a
I
long time.
so when I left high school halfway through my sophomore year and went on homeschool, and I started working when I was 15 and a half, and then when I was 16 is when I was 16 and a half, actually, almost 17, but That's when I went from being dependent on painkillers to having an addiction. And that's when I realized that's what was happening.
And folks, I'm just going to say one of my objectives in doing this podcast and having Siobhan come on and tell her story is, the element of addiction that we haven't, well, maybe we are, but I want to discuss it, of what makes a person an addict. And it's different with everyone, but I find there is an element of a lot of people taking these substances before they're the age of 15. And like I said before, your brain is fully developed, so it becomes a coping mechanism. Am I correct in my
Oh, for
assessment?
sure. It is. It
Yeah.
was it was after I had that laparoscopy when I was 15, and my sister had to come bring me painkillers at school. And she brought me two of them, so I took them both. And by the end, she brought it to me at lunch. And by the end of seventh period, I was falling asleep in class. I fell asleep on the bus. I couldn't even make it home from the bus stop all the way without having to stop and basically fall asleep on the side of the road. And when I went home, I fell asleep on the couch. When I woke up, I started smoking cigarettes when I was 14. So I went out in the garage to smoke a cigarette, and it made me almost throw up. And I remember I felt so horrible, but it was a feeling that I couldn't let go of at that point. Like, I started taking Vicodin more and more after that. I had bottles of it from when I had my first chest surgery, and my grandma just kept all the bottles in in our kitchen cabinet. And even though it made me feel so nauseous and sick, I was numb, and that was the first time that I felt okay. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't necessarily the euphoria. It was just, I didn't have to feel anything. So I liked that feeling. And if I would have known what I know now, it would have been a lot different.
Yes. And that's why we're on here telling your story, so that others that have had these things happen to them, get involved in taking any kind of drug or alcohol at such a young age. Um, our aim is to let them know that they're not alone, and that we're working to gain understanding, and stopping that cycle of the need for self medication. And one of those things is to gain some understanding of
Right.
ourselves emotionally, physically, and all those things. So after, so once you realized that was what was going on with you, what did you think? What were your thoughts after that? What happened after that, basically?
Well, I had one night, I didn't have any more Vicodin left.